So the next step in the reading process is to try and pinpoint 3 distinctive moments, if you can, in the poem that roughly kind of correlate to a sort of beginning, a climactic or central moment, and then a concluding section. But the key thing to do here is to try and break up the poem by looking for any changes in subject matter, speaking voice, tone, or time. So these 4 prompts for change are what will in the end give you discrete sections of the poem. And I'm going to talk you through the 5 distinctive moments I think that we can find in Island Man by Grace Nichols. The poem begins: morning, an island man wakes up to the sound of blue surf in his head, the steady breaking and whooming, wild seabirds and fishermen pushing out to sea. Now, I would put a break here in his head, even though we've got a very slight shift into a focus in more detail on the sound of the sea. But we've got in these very first 4 lines, the island man waking up, hearing the sea. So we've got someone waking up somewhere to the sound of surf in his head. Then, at that moment from the word head, the steady breaking and whooming, wild seabirds and fishermen pushing out to sea, the sun surfacing defiantly from the east of his small emerald isle. He always comes back. And so what you have in this second moment that ends there, he always comes back groggily, groggily. Here, at this point in time, we have all the scenery of the island, which is being described as he is imagining it in his mind. The steady breaking and whooming, he's talking about the breaking and whooming of the sea, wild seabirds and fishermen pushing out to sea, and then the sun defiantly surfacing of the small emerald island. He always comes back in his memory to this particular place. So we have the scenery of the island as is described in his mind. And then we have this tiny little moment here, this isolated line in the poem, groggily, groggily, which obviously has a connotation of sickness and nausea, but it functions as a pivot in this poem. It's a shift that moves the poem from the past and the imagination and the memory of the island into the reality and the present moment of waking up in London. He always comes back groggily, groggily, comes back to sands of a grey metallic saw, to surge of wheels, to dull north circular roar. This is his initial impression, the reality of life in London as he wakes up in the morning. He comes back to the sands of a grey metallic saw, to the surge of wheels, to dull north circular roar. And the North Circular is the name for the huge motorway that runs around London, the M25. Then, muffling his crumpled pillow waves, island man heaves himself, another London day. So we have initially the sound of his first realization of reality as he wakes up in the morning, and then his attempt to motivate himself to get up as a result of what he hears. He's muffling his crumpled pillow waves. And so he's almost pushing down the crinkles of his pillow and imagining that there are waves in the sea, and he heaves himself into another London day. So it's this final attempt to motivate himself to get up. And so what we're then left with is actually 5 distinctive moments. The island man wakes up hearing the sea in his mind. The scenery of the island is described in his mind, and then there's this pivot isolated on this line, groggily, groggily, that returns him to reality. And then we're given the reality of life in London, and then his attempt to motivate himself to get up in this normal reality. So we have 5 distinctive little episodes that make up the narrative of this particular poem. Now it's important to do this because it breaks down your attention, and it gives you smaller sections of the poem to focus on. And what it also helps you to do is to build up in your mind a clear picture of the sequence of events and the narrative that the poem tells us, which will help you when you get to analysing its structure and its form, to relate what's going on in the events to what you're seeing on the page in terms of its shape, in terms of its techniques, and in terms of its visual appearance and its form.